You know the story. A family member gives you a camera when you're young and you start doing all sorts of experimenting and messing around and slow shutter speed and jumping off things and all sorts of stuff, I don't know. And some of the pictures come out really mediocre and then some of them were really bad. But it was a lot of fun, so, you know, there's no problem. But then the years go by and you sort of grow up and start taking proper pictures of proper things and documenting the world around you. The problem is I didn't, and I'm still fascinated by experimenting and especially with long shutter speeds. I found that if I move the camera around during the shot, it just produces these exciting, unworldly images that I just keep wanting to experiment with. So over the years, I've tried to refine the process and I'm still doing it. So today I wanted to show you some of my pictures and try and basically explain myself.
When you move a camera during a shot, it produces blurring of the subject, and we often take great pains to stop this happening. But what happens if we embrace this and run with the idea? This sort of thing. Stylistically, this is one of the most straightforward sorts of image to create with camera movement. The camera is moved up or down during the shot, in this case 2.5 seconds of shot. This is one of the first techniques I tried. It fascinated me how it draws the viewer's attention as much to the spaces in between the trees as the trees themselves. It also creates these straight lines, which are quite a contrast from the complex and uneven shapes of the trees themselves. Adding the setting sun into the mix gives this image a focus and a wonderful colour. This next shot shows rotational movement, but it's not just smooth movement. The camera was moved incrementally during the 4-second exposure, and at each stop the image gets imprinted onto the sensor, giving the illusion of multiple exposures. Looking up through these branches, this technique accentuates their complexity and gives a wonderful texture that I've called Tangled Trees. There are so many cool things to look at in this image, like the centre of the rotation that seems to have formed a cone-like shape. To highlight the difference that the movement profile can make to an image, these next 2 images were taken of very similar subjects. It also shows how you can celebrate colours using this technique. This is heather on some common land near me. The camera was pointed down and rotated during a 5-second exposure. The purple in the flowers is spread around in these wonderful circles which flood the whole picture with colour. At the start of the shot, I wait for a moment before rotating the camera to capture the detail of the heather before blurring the colour around the image. And here I use the incremental movement to produce this almost woven carpet-like texture with the same subject. There are many that don't work, but fortunately there are a few that do. With the variables of speed, direction and the flow of movement, you can quite easily lose yourself in all the possibilities. You can tell I'm quite into the whole circular movement thing. And don't even get me started on how it's inspired by the cycles of our life and nature and stuff. Also, on another deep level, I wonder whether nature is watching us humans clumsily stomp all over this planet of ours. And this shot symbolises that to me. An eye watching us, created by the sun through the trees. Obviously a bit of a common theme in my pictures. There's even a catch light in this eye, where the sun is at its brightest, and as ever, the moment of stillness before rotating the camera imprints some of the tree texture in the image. Another eye now, this time the London eye. Using this technique in an urban setting gives a whole new set of opportunities and challenges. I centred my rotation on the centre of the wheel and then did the incremental rotation to create the wings sort of things on either side. I had to start the process on an angle so that the finished image would be horizontal, so this took quite a few attempts of fine-tuning as to where I started and where I would end up. It's interesting the texture the buildings take on. Again in London, I was standing on a bridge watching people walk underneath, and as it was raining, got these two with their umbrellas up. This shot was done similar to a sports photo where you're panning with the subject, except at 4 seconds this would be too long for fast-moving sports subjects. The white shoe of the person on the left shows how much movement there is. I love the atmosphere and the subtle textures of the pavement in this one. I've often thought that what I do is a bit like reverse light painting. Instead of opening the shutter and moving a light around, I just move the camera around. I thought this shot reflected all the crazy busy stuff going on in London, with St Paul's Cathedral standing out serenely in the background. I was really happy that this one was shortlisted in the Fujifilm House of Photography Life as You See It competition back in June. Another sunset shot now. It's from the same shoot as the first shot I showed you, but was later on when I was trying loads of different sort of things. This was handheld, and the movement was something that I'd been working on over many iterations, and it evolved into this diagonal movement with waviness and speed changes to create this sort of meteor crashing through the woods effect. It's great to play with the scene in front of you and create a whole new artistic vision. There's often a debate around the question of whether photography is art. I think all photographers are using their artistic eye and their talent to find the right framing and moment to press the shutter. So in my opinion, photography definitely is art. Talking of which, this is an incremental rotational zooming shot of the National Gallery in London. I thought it would be a very arty sort of thing to try and create a piece of art from such an iconic art gallery. It's a great way to lose yourself thinking about how best to capture things and looking at what you did and trying again. I find it really quite meditative, so it's one of the drivers that keeps me coming back to this technique. Finally, this is one of my favourites. Again, another sunset and another rotation. I just love the soft circles of colour and tone that radiate out from the centre, although in this one I set the camera up so that the centre of my rotation wasn't in the middle of the shot, which makes things a little more interesting. This one really captures the feeling of calm and warmth I felt when I was standing watching this sunset. I'd love to think that when you look at this image, you get a little bit of that feeling as well.
I hope you've enjoyed this little journey through some of my ICM or intentional camera movement images, and if you want to see more, let me know in the comments, and hopefully I can do some technique videos about it. Maybe I'll go out and take a shot and show you how I sort of craft it from actually taking the shot through to editing it and see what we get. I mean, often there are quite a few failures in this sort of thing, so it would be quite interesting to do it that way. So yeah, let me know in the comments, and if enough people want to see that sort of thing, I'll do something like that. So if you did like this video and want to see more, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and I will look forward to seeing you back here soon.